another edition of the Finance Forum with myself, Abdu-Raof Hanslo. And today we have a very special guest in studio who's going to be with us for quite a few programs in unpacking a series specifically aimed at financial planning and financial advice. My guest today in studio is none other than Mohammed Jaffer from Mojaf Financial Services, a well-known financial service provider in the general Western Cape and South African area. Welcome and assalamu alaikum to you, Mohammed.
Wa alaikum salam, Abdu-Raof, and it's nice to be in your company again.
Yes, no, you know, we've done a lot in the past as far as community upliftment, as far as finances are concerned, as well as looking at the best interest of our community as far as financial management.
Yes, Abdu-Raof, alhamdulillah, it's always a pleasure to sit with you and field some of sometimes the tricky questions, but alhamdulillah, I think it's all part of empowering our community, and it's so important, particularly today in the financial arena. When you approach your financial affairs, it's very important that you approach it with the necessary skills and input.
I think the topic of today is a very pertinent issue concerning our community. We're in tough times economically in South Africa at the moment, and it doesn't look like there's much light at the end of the tunnel anytime soon, at least, as far as the South African economy is concerned. And in these tough times, obviously the importance in this period would be security, as well as looking at making the right decisions financially. And therefore, the series that we'd like to enter into with you is specifically aimed at financial advice and financial planning and how best our community could benefit from that. So I think to kick off, Mohammed, to start the whole series out is if you could possibly just give us a synopsis of exactly what a financial advisor or financial planner exactly is and what roles they play within the life of an individual.
I think that's a very, very important question, Abdu-Raof. Firstly, just to comment on your opening statement. Yes, globally the markets are in serious trouble. If we look at the US has been downgraded, the growth of the US has been downgraded to 1.4% growth, GDP growth. The UK has been downgraded to 1.6%. And South Africa, you know that it's a moving target that keeps on moving. Currently, they were talking of 0.4% growth. So yes, we are in very, very trying times, and it makes it even more important for those people that are serious about their financial affairs that we have a serious chat to our financial planner, financial advisor. And it is so important that when we look at our financial planner or financial advisor, that we go through the whole process of financial planning, Abdu-Raof. It's very easy to go and see somebody because there's a specific need that I need. For argument's sake, I need to maybe, a lot of the young people want to save up for to buy a property, or they want to save for their children's education, or they want to buy a big asset, or they want to save for their retirement. Now, all these are different needs that needs to be satisfied, and it's very important that when one sits with one's advisor, that there is a holistic approach that is taken, and not a gap filler, try and do fill this gap and then that gap, but that a holistic approach is taken. And in the financial industry, there's a 6-step financial planning process that we make use of, and maybe I'll briefly touch on some of them, which I believe is very important. Firstly, when we sit down with our financial advisor, the advisor needs to understand what it is that you as a client want to achieve, and you as a client needs to feel comfortable with the advisor. So the first meeting would most probably be like an interview for both parties to understand, am I comfortable with the advice and the process that you as an advisor are going to give me, and the advisor on his side, his or her side, to determine, will this client fit in our profile of clients, because there are people that specialize in different fields of financial planning. So that's number one. Number two, once you've now come to an agreement, or you both feel comfortable with each other, is for the advisor then to collect all the information, all your financial information, and this is, it goes beyond financial advice. You need to have a frank and open discussion with the advisors of what are your goals, and in fact go as far as what are your dreams, you know, because I think it's very important that the financial advisor take all these things into consideration about your family, your extended family, and many a times you find that there are other people other than your immediate family that is dependent on you. So all that information needs to be given to the financial advisor, based on your goals and on all the necessary information that the advisor gets from you. He or she then analyzes that information, and based on what the goals that you and what you want to achieve, the financial advisor then develops a financial plan. That plan, in the follow-up, that is the third step. In the follow-up, the financial advisor will then present the financial plan to the client, or to you as the potential client, or hopefully by this time you are already a client of the financial advisor, because there's a lot of work that goes into preparing all this, and it's important that you come to a mutual understanding right at the first or the second meeting. So the financial advisor will then present the financial plan to the client, and that is where you now discuss your financial plan, because it's important as a client you need to first have full understanding of what the plan consists of, and will this plan achieve my goals or my dreams and my family's needs. So it's a very in-depth discussion that must take place between you and your advisor, to make sure that all the necessary and the important aspects of your financial life is covered. Because as I said, we shouldn't have an approach of trying to fill certain holes, but rather to make sure that we cover everything from a financial within your financial plan.
I think, Mohammed, you mentioned something earlier that financial advisors specialize in various different fields. I mean, you find financial advisors that's holistic, that basically covers everything, and then you find financial advisors that specialize in medical aid, specialize in retirement, specialize in insurance, and specialize in investments. How does one choose a financial advisor? I mean, how do you ultimately decide this is the time that I need financial advice in my life, as you mentioned what the process is for seeking financial advice? Once you've made that decision that you're going to do something in finance, you're going to secure your future, how do you then go ahead and choose the correct financial advisor that suits you, or the correct financial advisor that would benefit you?
That's very, very important, Abdu-Raof. But before I get on to that point, I just wanted to finish the other 2 points. Once you've now come to an agreement with not an agreement, once you've discussed your financial plan, and you have now agreed the way forward, the advisor will then implement your plan and get the necessary products and investments in place. And something that is very, very important, Abdu-Raof, is your reviews. That, at least, depending obviously on the size of your portfolio should be reviewed at least bare minimum once a year. But for people who's got a substantial portfolio, biannually, even quarterly, that depends on the size of your portfolio. Now, coming to your second point, Abdu-Raof, is to how do I determine, or how do I get myself a proper financial planner? And I think the industry, unfortunately, has been through a difficult time, and it is still trying to rid itself from its legacy, where initially or before the industry had a lot of salesmen. And traditionally people would be referred to as a broker. The industry is moving away from the word broker, because to us a broker means a salesman. And financial planning and financial advice is not about selling. It's about putting a plan in place to get the client to a certain point in a certain time in his life. So it's very important, firstly, to look at the qualifications of the advisor. I think qualifications is very important. Is the person a graduate? And does he have is he a certified financial planner? Or has he done his further studies in advanced, we call it today, advanced certification in financial planning? Because then you start specializing in different fields. So firstly, it's very important that you look at the qualifications of the person, and then coupled with that is the experience. Now, experience and qualifications is a very potent mixture.
Two totally different things, but very important.
Absolutely important that you look at the qualifications firstly, and then at the experience, because as we know, if you must go for a knee operation, Abdu-Raof, you're going to go to the surgeon that's got the necessary qualifications, and obviously also the necessary skills and experience. Because as we now prepare to give our medical life or our well-being over to a specialist, a surgeon, so too is our financial freedom and our financial the financial process that we're going to go through, very important. Our financial well-being is then in the hands of the financial planner. So make sure that the person has got the necessary qualifications and the necessary skills. And you as a client needs to feel very comfortable with the financial advisor. And also, Abdu-Raof, there is a website, the Financial Planning Institute has got a website.
FPI.
The FPI, that's right, yes. Yeah.
Not FBI, FPI.
FPI, so, that's right, yes. There is a website where if you want a certified financial planner in your area, that you can go onto their website and they will indicate who is a financial planner in your area. That's number 3. Number 4, it's very important also to ask around. If you've heard of Abdu-Raof Hanslo or you've heard of Moja Financial Services, find out and make a few calls, about that person, and because financial planning is a very personal process. And you need to, as a client, need to feel comfortable with the financial planner.
Okay, Mohammed, I think we touched on the importance of a financial advisor already. The other part that I just want to ask is, in the old days, we always had this perception that a financial advisor was an insurance broker. And he was linked to one specific company, and they were regarded as the knock-on-door types, the cold call knock-on-door types. So if you saw the raincoat and the tie and the leather suitcase in the hand, you would know that's insurance broker. Obviously, the industry has evolved since then, and it's become a profession as far as financial advice and financial planning is concerned. What exactly does financial planning cover? So when looking at an individual's lifespan, and I'm not only speaking about a person that's now started working, I'm looking from birth. Does a financial plan take the entire life into account, or is it only specific parts of the life?
I think you've summed it up very, very nicely. In fact, partly of what you said earlier on has also created a perception in the industry of broker the salesman. And unfortunately that has given the industry a certain shade, because prior to 2002, 2003, the industry was very much a sales-driven industry. And with the advent of the FASE Act, the Financial Advisory and Intermediaries the Services Act, the industry has evolved tremendously since 2002, 2003. We are now regulated by the FSB, the Financial Services Board, where before, if for argument's sake, and we have unfortunately heard of some people that comes to a person, a financial advisor, for a specific need, and then the person end up after a year, 2 years, the person find out, but this is not actually what I wanted. I actually wanted something else. And there was wrongful advice given. We now have recourse to the Financial Services Board, where we as advisors must make sure that we never end up having to answer to the Financial Services Board for wrongful advice. So that's a very important change in the industry, because before there was no recourse really. People typically could be sold something, and not necessarily what they wanted, but what is best for the advisor in the form of fees, commission. In fact, that in itself, we have moved away from commission now to fees based, and that in itself, we will have a discussion on that, on how you should negotiate your fees. So financial planning, Abdu-Raof, is a process. It's not an event. And as you correctly said, that financial advice starts at a point, and many a times at the birth of a small child, and it ends when the person not necessarily passes away, because what you would find then that there is the next phase of financial planning kicks in. So financial planning is a whole process, and that then comes into estate planning. So yes, Abdu-Raof, it is from the time when the goal is set of what it is that you as a client would want to achieve at the age of 60. I would like to have a certain income at the age of 60, or I would want to retire at a certain level financially at the age of 60. Now, the financial advisor needs to take that into consideration and then look back and say, okay, how many children have you got? What do you want to wear? What are their ages? What is it that you want to achieve from from an educational point of view? What it is that you as an individual, as a family, want to achieve from your investment point of view, your property, your unit trust, your shares, and just the different aspects of your financial portfolio. And then from there, a plan, as I said earlier on, is plotted. And as we go through the different phases of our life, you adjust the financial plan accordingly. So that at death, we don't do estate planning at death. Estate planning is done as our financial plan evolves. And that estate planning is a discussion completely on its own.
Now coming to that financial plan, Mohammed, you know, in today's society, we find a tremendous amount of salespeople calling us on our cell phones and calling us at home, and many a times we get calls where we're being offered either investments, offered either insurance, as far as life insurance or disability cover or something like that, as well as short-term insurances. In what I see, what you're describing at the moment as far as a financial plan is concerned, those types of options of the salespeople calling you and you taking something over the telephone, that essentially should be part of your financial plan. So when looking at this type of scenario where you're receiving the call, how does one mitigate that when looking at a financial plan? Because certainly that can throw the balance out totally of what is required.
It's so true what you are saying. That's why it's so important when you decide on your financial planner, make sure that the financial planner has the necessary skills. And when you sit down with the potential advisor that you're going to now, because as I said earlier on, Abdu-Raof, financial planning is not an event, it's a process. So it's a long-term journey that you're going to take with this financial advisor. So before you decide to go with a certain financial advisor, make sure that you feel comfortable in every aspect, that the financial advisor has the necessary skills, that he's got the necessary experience, and that the financial planner will have the necessary skills, and there is honesty and trust, and that is developed over time. But you as a client should be able to assess and ascertain that during your discussion with the financial planner. And also the important thing is that you speak to other people, and in fact even don't be shy to ask the advisor for names, to speak to certain to some of the advisors, clients. And Abdu-Raof, it's also important that you as a client need to develop that respect and that understanding with that advisor, because it's very easy, because as you said, so many people get calls today about this product and about that product. I can do this for you, I can do that for you. And promises are very easy to make, but very difficult to uphold.
Absolutely.
So it must be important, you must also as a client need to understand that, am I going to get the service from the advisor that I need? And service is also as determined, and your satisfaction, it takes time to develop this. So jumping from one advisor to another person because this person has told you this, you're not only doing yourself a disfavor, but you also erode value in your portfolio, because the financial planner needs to take you through a certain journey and needs to adjust your portfolio according to certain things, the changes of your personal being, your changes within your life. There's maybe an addition to the family, there might be a death, there might be a change in career, and then the second thing is changes in the market. And as you very well know, the market currently is going through some trying times, locally and globally. So these are all the necessary skills that the advisor needs to bring to the party. And if you're going to jump from one person to the other, it also makes it very difficult for the financial planner. In fact, if we ascertain or we determine that is what is happening with one of our clients, fortunately we don't have that, but for us that would be a indicator that maybe we are not a good fit, or maybe the client is looking for something else and we are not delivering that.
You know, coming from an asset management and investment background, we many a times investment people find themselves engaging with clients, not on an advice basis, but basically on a sales basis. And I especially say that because if you represent one company, you are basically selling one product. So I think, in follow-up to the previous point on advice and financial advisors, there is a term that we use, and that term is independent financial advisor. I think if you could just clear that up of exactly what an independent financial advisor or independent financial planner is, in comparison, and I know you compared this prior in the discussion to salespeople, but just to give a synopsis of exactly what an independent financial advisor or planner is.
Abdu-Raof, you get different types of financial advisors. You get what they call a tied agent. He or she would typically work for one of the big insurance companies, and he will be tied to that company. And then you would get the bank advisors. Now the bank advisors was also, the banks would have a relationship with a certain investment house, and certain products would be recommended. Whereas the independent advisor would have excuse me, the independent advisor would have contracts with many of the providers across the board. And the advisor, once he's developed your financial plan, the independent financial advisor, once he has developed your financial plan, he or she would recommend certain products from different investment houses that will suit your need and not necessarily because he is only tied to a specific or certain company that they only stick to certain products. Because there are certain, if you can use the example, there are certain detergents that are better from one company than the other. So it is important that you as a client is always top in mind for the advisor when he gives you advice and when he recommends certain investment products for your need. And being an independent advisor, he or she has the ability to go to different companies dependent on what your need is.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We've been inundated with information concerning financial advice and financial planning from our very able guest, Mr. Mohammed Jaffer from Mojaf Financial Services. You've been watching the Finance Forum with myself, Abdu-Raof Hanslo, and until next time, we encourage you to stay focused to your finances.